Unlock the secrets of economic catastrophe as we dive deep into the causes of hyperinflation, a financial storm like no other. Welcome to today's informative video, where we'll delve deep into the world of hyperinflation, exploring what it is, its causes, real-world examples, and the potential consequences. Hyperinflation is a term that sends shivers down the spines of economists and citizens alike. It's a financial disaster of epic proportions that can wreak havoc on entire economies. In this video, we will provide you with a detailed understanding of hyperinflation, what leads to it, and how you can prepare for such a financial catastrophe. So, without further ado, let's begin. What is hyperinflation? To get started, let's clarify what hyperinflation is. Hyperinflation is a phenomenon characterized by rapid, excessive, and uncontrollable price increases within an economy. While inflation measures the rate at which prices for goods and services rise, hyperinflation is a beast of its own, with inflation rates typically exceeding 50% per month. It's essential to note that hyperinflation is rare in developed economies, but has been experienced by countries like China, Germany, Russia, Hungary, and Georgia. Understanding hyperinflation. Inflation is measured using the Consumer Price Index, CPI, by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CPI tracks the prices of approximately 94,000 commodities and services, including housing quotes, airline fares, and various consumer goods. Developed economies, like the United States, aim to maintain a stable inflation rate, usually around 2% over the long term. Hyperinflation represents the extreme end of the inflation spectrum, with inflation rates of 50% or more per month. During hyperinflation, prices may increase daily or weekly, significantly impacting consumers' ability to afford basic necessities. For instance, consider your weekly grocery bill rising from $500 one week to $675 the next, and a staggering $911 the week after that. Causes of hyperinflation. Now, let's explore the causes of hyperinflation, as understanding these triggers is crucial to preventing such a catastrophe. Excessive money supply. One of the primary causes of hyperinflation is an uncontrolled expansion of the money supply. Central banks, typically responsible for regulating the money in circulation, may respond to economic crises like recessions or depressions by increasing the money supply. The intention behind this move is to encourage lending and spending among businesses and consumers. However, if this monetary expansion isn't accompanied by actual economic growth, as measured by gross domestic product, GDP, it can lead to hyperinflation. When GDP remains stagnant or shrinks, businesses respond by raising prices to maintain profitability, creating a cycle of inflation and eventually hyperinflation. Demand pull inflation. Another catalyst for hyperinflation is the scenario where aggregate demand outstrips aggregate supply. This results in rapid and uncontrolled price increases, as there simply aren't enough goods and services available to meet the surging demand. Such a mismatch causes prices to skyrocket, leaving consumers grappling with escalating costs for everyday necessities. Effects of hyperinflation. Hyperinflation unleashes a series of disastrous effects that wreak havoc on an economy and its people. Hoarding and shortages. As hyperinflation sets in, people tend to hoard goods such as food and essential items, fearing that their money's value will diminish further. This hoarding, in turn, leads to shortages, making it difficult for ordinary citizens to secure basic necessities, exacerbating the crisis. Purchasing power erosion. Hyperinflation significantly devalues the local currency, rendering it nearly worthless. As a result, consumers experience a loss of purchasing power, meaning they have to spend more to buy less. Bills become burdensome, and individuals struggle to afford even the most fundamental goods and services. Bank failures. With the local currency rapidly depreciating, individuals may lose trust in the banking system. They often withdraw their money and assets from banks, causing financial institutions to falter and, in some cases, collapse. This disruption in the banking sector further destabilizes the economy. Government revenue decline. Governments, dependent on tax revenues for essential services, suffer during hyperinflation. As consumers and businesses struggle to make ends meet, they may default on taxes, leading to a decrease in government income. This, in turn, can disrupt public services and exacerbate the crisis. How to prepare for hyperinflation. While hyperinflation is rare in developed countries, it's prudent to be prepared for high inflation. Diversifying your portfolio with assets like commodities, real estate, and Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, can help hedge against rising inflation. Consider mutual funds and exchange-traded funds that utilize inflation swaps to safeguard your portfolio from the ravages of inflation. Real-world examples of hyperinflation. Let's take a closer look at some real-world examples of hyperinflation. Yugoslavia. One of the most protracted and destructive episodes of hyperinflation unfolded in the former Yugoslavia during the 1990s. Already burdened by inflation exceeding 76% annually, the country's demise was hastened by the discovery that its leader, Slobodan Milosevic, had embezzled $1.4 billion in loans from the Serbian central bank. The government resorted to printing vast sums of money to fulfill its financial obligations, plunging the nation into hyperinflation. Incredibly, the inflation rate doubled daily until it reached an unimaginable 313 million% per month. This crisis left the nation's wealth obliterated, forcing its populace to resort to barter for basic necessities. Incomes plummeted by more than 50%, and food production ground to a halt. The government eventually had to replace its currency with the German mark to stabilize the economy. Hungary. Hungary faced a severe bout of hyperinflation following World War II. At its peak, prices soared at a mind-boggling rate of 207% per day. This catastrophe was driven by a combination of factors, including excessive government spending, fiscal mismanagement, and a loss of confidence in the local currency. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe experienced a prolonged period of hyperinflation starting in 1999 and continuing until early 2009, with daily inflation rates hitting an alarming 98%. This economic freefall was triggered by a series of adverse events, including droughts, a plummeting GDP, excessive borrowing, and the government's involvement in various expensive ventures, such as a war in the Congo. The government resorted to printing money to fund these undertakings, leading to an uncontrollable rise in inflation. As the currency's value evaporated, millions of Zimbabweans fled the country, and the economy lay in ruins. What will happen if there is hyperinflation? Hyperinflation doesn't strike out of the blue. In developed countries like the United States, economists and central banks closely monitor inflation. The Federal Reserve has various tools to prevent hyperinflation, such as adjusting interest rates, even before inflation reaches 50%. Will the US go into hyperinflation? It's unlikely that the United States will experience hyperinflation, given the country's robust economic institutions and prudent fiscal policies. The US Federal Reserve and the government possess an array of tools to combat hyperinflation and maintain economic stability. They closely monitor economic indicators and can take preemptive measures to prevent hyperinflation from becoming a reality. While it's improbable under normal circumstances, it's worth noting that extreme economic conditions or significant policy missteps could theoretically create a risk. Nonetheless, the US has a strong track record of managing its economy, making hyperinflation an improbable scenario. Hyperinflation is a rare economic nightmare where inflation surges by 50% or more in 1 month, causing a sharp increase in consumer prices and making it challenging for a country to meet its financial obligations. While hyperinflation is not common, it can be triggered by factors like war, natural disasters, or political corruption. If you found this video informative, then don't forget to hit that like button, share it, and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.